Uh, my name is Lakia Stone. I was born on Oahu, but when I was 7 years old, me and my mom moved to Hilo, and that's kind of like where I grew up. Yeah, I'm a member of Halau Kekuhi, um, traditional hula school. Sure. So currently, I live in DC. I work for Senator Mazie K. Hirono in the US Senate in her personal office. And I actually just recently got promoted to the position of legislative correspondent, which is, in a nutshell, I am junior staff in on the legislative team. So my main duties is to um, work with constituent correspondence. So any kind of phone calls or emails that come in from constituents from the state of Hawaii to our office. I am kind of that person, or I'm me and two others are kind of the people that filter them out by issue and what they're writing into the senator about or calling into the senator about, and then we kind of take care of all of those kinds of things. So that's our main primary duties. Um, and then our secondary duties is just to support the senior staff on the legislative team to do any kind of research on policy or any kind of things like that. So my academic journey was kind of rough, and I'd say it's very untraditional in the sense of my mom is a single mother. I'm an only child, and I dropped out of public school beginning of 11th grade. So I got my GED, and then I went to Hawaii Community College in Hilo, and it was kind of a rough time. My academic journey and my life journey kind of informed each other because I was on my own since I was 17. So I was working and paying rent and going to school full time since I was 18. It took me 8 years to basically to graduate with a BA. In the beginning of 2019, I applied for an internship through the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, and it was a 3-month summer internship here in DC with an advocacy agency, NCAPA, the National Council for Asian and Pacific Americans. And through that internship and meeting people up here and people from Hawaii up here in DC, I met with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs DC Bureau staff, and they had just started their 2019 Native Hawaiian Congressional Fellowship cohort, and they had opened up another position in their cohort, and they encouraged me to apply, and that was a 9-month fellowship through the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and KS. And then after that, I got the bug, and I stayed here uh, as a full time staffer, and 2.5 years later, I'm still here. Well, throughout my childhood, I was a big reader. I read a lot of books, fantasy, sci-fi books. That was my jam. So I always really loved literature, and I always really enjoyed, like, in high school English class and like learning about literature stuff and that kind of things. So I always had an idea that, oh, I would go to school for English and be a writer and whatever. I got to school, I got to UH Hilo, and I did not enjoy the English major at all. I was like, no, this is not for me. I can't do this. So I kind of had like an identity crisis, like number one. That was identity crisis number one because, like, my whole life, I thought, oh, I'm going to go to school and I know what I want to do. Then I got there and I was like, this is not what I want to do. So I was like, whoa, I have to rethink my entire whatevers that I thought I wanted to do and now figure out something else. So I switched majors to linguistics because I had realized, and through talking with a lot of my mentors and peers, that I really enjoyed the idea of using language versus like the English major, you know? So I really enjoyed studying language and studying how we use language um, to convey, you know, ideas and stuff like that. So someone was like, oh yeah, you should try linguistics. So I tried that and I was like, this is exactly what I wanted to do. You know, like this is why I really enjoyed reading and writing, was because I really enjoyed using language to communicate. And it doesn't necessarily mean I want to be a writer or I want to be an English major. It's I wanted to study that phenomenon of human language. You know, towards the end of my undergrad, I added on a pre-law certificate because around that time, I'm not good with the dates around that time. It's kind of all a blur. Around that time, I was really interested in policy and policy making. The pre-law certificate and the introductory classes, as far as like academically what I'm doing now, that's kind of what helped me introduce myself into that world. And I mean, like, not to say I'm not using, or you know, while I was in my English and my linguistics classes, like I was introduced to a lot because of linguistics and my academic journey at UH Hilo. Like I participated in two Pama Maos, which are cultural exchanges. That they're cultural exchanges. It's a 10-day trip with a group comprised of faculty, staff, and students from Hawaii CC and UHH. And it's a 10-day trip to the continent. To the ones I went to was South Dakota, and the first one I went to, I think it was 2012. We went to South Dakota and we met with a lot of Native American tribes, and we had cultural exchanges with them. It was it was super helpful for me to travel as a student. I traveled as a student. Oh, I remember. I traveled as a student and then I traveled as a student worker. I traveled as a student at HEC, and then the second one I was included because I was a student worker at UH Hilo working through Ho'okele. And I remember it being super helpful for me to just travel. And that's kind of the idea of Pamamao too. Pamamao, the word necessary, it means like the horizons and expanding the horizons. So that was the first time I was able to travel as an adult and experience the world outside of Hawaii, you know. And in another sense too, I was experiencing the world outside of Hawaii and bringing my own culture and my own perspective to the forefront. Like that was the purpose of that those trips. I think I wouldn't have been prepared to move here to DC and to start living here on my own in DC with no friends and family, you know, if I hadn't done those those things through Pamamao or otherwise. And I'm super grateful because like then I wouldn't have been able to travel. I wouldn't have been able to understand that there's a bigger world, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. Did you like how I turned that around to what I'm doing now? Oh my God. Okay. Okay. I see you. I see you right now. And Kalehulu. I see you.